Isn't it strange? You ask someone who sleeps really well, a good sleeper, how do
Yeah.
you do it? And they just sort of shrug.
Yeah, they often say nothing, like I just lay down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then you ask someone who's really struggling with insomnia.
Oh, you get a list, a long, detailed, exhausting list of all the things they try to do.
Yeah.
Supplements, rituals, rules.
And yet sleep just seems to get further away the harder they try.
Yeah,
It's this real paradox, isn't it?
it absolutely is. And tackling that paradox head on, that idea that the effort is the problem, well, that's the core of our deep dive today.
Okay.
We're looking at the work of Dr. Guy Meadows, founder of the Sleep School, particularly his sleep book. He puts forward this really different method using acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT.
Right, ACT. So our mission here is to unpack this, I guess, counterintuitive idea
Hmm.
that the real secret to getting good sleep again is learning how to stop trying so hard, learning how to do, well, nothing.
Precisely. Stopping the fight.
So let's start with what most people hear. The usual advice: cut caffeine, no alcohol, dark room, wind down routine, all that stuff.
The standard sleep hygiene list.
Yeah. And Dr. Meadows argues this whole approach, this focus on doing things to get rid of insomnia, is actually, well, it's flawed. Why does all that effort backfire?
Well, think about it. You put all this pressure on yourself. You follow all the rules, the herbal tea, the perfect temperature, no screen.
Right? You tick all the boxes.
Exactly. And then you're still lying there wide awake at 3 a.m. What happens then?
Total frustration. Panic, maybe. Like, I did everything right. Why isn't it working?
Precisely. You feel confused, like a failure, and the anxiety just skyrockets. And that struggle, that emotional turmoil, that's what keeps you awake, keeps you hyper-aroused.
So the mainstream fixes are focusing on the symptoms, like the anxiety or the racing heart.
But they miss the root cause, which is the struggle itself. The core idea here is that struggling to sleep is the problem. You're putting sleep up on this pedestal.
Making it this huge performance goal.
Yeah, exactly. When the simple truth, the one good sleepers live every night, is that sleep just happens. It comes from doing nothing more than getting into bed and putting your head down.
Okay, so if doing more stuff isn't the answer, and even traditional CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, which often tries to challenge the thoughts, if that's not quite hitting the mark, what is ACT? Acceptance and commitment therapy. Why is it different?
It's a really fundamental shift. CBT often focuses on the content of your thoughts, trying to argue with them, challenge them, prove them wrong.
Like telling yourself, no, I will cope tomorrow, if your brain says you won't.
Exactly. You're trying to get rid of the bad thought. ACT, though, it looks at your relationship with the thought. It's about mental flexibility.
Flexibility. How so?
Instead of fighting the discomfort, the unwelcome thoughts or feelings, ACT encourages you to make space for them, to observe them with curiosity without getting tangled up in them.
So you notice the thought, I'll never sleep, but you don't necessarily engage in that mental tug-of-war with it.
Precisely. You accept its presence doesn't mean you agree with it, but you accept it's there, and then you gently let it go. Shift your focus back to resting. You stop feeding it energy by fighting it.
Okay, but this is where I think people, myself included, sometimes get hung up. Doesn't acceptance just sound like giving up, like resignation? Okay, fine, I'll just be tired forever.
Yeah, that's the number one misconception. It's a crucial distinction. Resignation is passive, it's hopeless, you feel stuck.
Right.
Acceptance in ACT is the opposite. It's an active, positive choice. You are purposefully choosing to stop struggling, stop the tossing and turning, stop the mental battles because you recognize that struggling is actually unhelpful. It's making things worse.
So it's a conscious decision to stop fighting because fighting is counterproductive.
Exactly. You choose to rest even if sleep isn't coming right away.
Yeah.
You choose quiet wakefulness over anxious struggle. And that decision, that's the key step toward letting natural sleep mechanisms take over again.
Okay, that reframing is really helpful. Acceptance as an action. So let's talk about the things we do that actually make it worse. Dr. Meadows calls them amplifiers, right? These coping strategies that fuel the fire.
Yes, the amplifiers.
Mhm.
Things we do thinking they'll help, but they just reinforce the struggle. Pills and potions are a big one.
Sleeping pills, herbal remedies.
Right. They might work initially, give some relief, but pretty quickly you can develop this reliance, this loss of trust in your own body's ability to sleep naturally.
And the sleep quality itself isn't great, is it?
Often not. Research shows medications can reduce the amount of deep sleep and REM sleep, the really restorative stages. So you might be unconscious for 8 hours, but you wake up feeling groggy, unrested.
Yeah, not properly refreshed. Okay, what else? Environmental sixes. I know I've obsessed over blackout blinds and the perfect pillow.
Oh, absolutely. Turning the bedroom into some kind of high-tech sleep lab, again, it comes from a good place, trying to control things, but it builds dependency.
You start thinking, I can't sleep unless everything is perfect.
Exactly. And travel becomes terrifying. What if the hotel room isn't dark enough? It just feeds the anxiety and, again, that loss of trust in yourself.
And then there are the mind games. Counting sheep or the absolute worst, clock watching,
Ugh, the clock. Yeah, constantly checking, calculating how much sleep you're not getting.
which guarantees you get even less because you're stressing about it.
Precisely. Because what are you doing when you count sheep or watch the clock? You're engaging your brain. You're measuring, assessing, calculating.
You're actively thinking.
Yes. Your rational brain is online, which is the opposite of what you need for sleep. It pushes you further into alertness, into arousal.
Mhm.
And this brings us to the really fascinating biological piece, the fight or flight trap.
The evolutionary explanation. Why does all this effort physically keep us awake?
It boils down to a part of the brain called the amygdala. Think of it as your internal alarm system.
Okay.
When those unwelcome things arrive at night, the racing heart, the scary thoughts about work tomorrow, that feeling of dread, the amygdala flags them as threats.
But they're not actual threats, like a predator.
No, but the amygdala can't really tell the difference. It's primitive. So whether it's a lion outside the cave or the thought, I'm going to mess up my presentation, it reacts similarly. It triggers the fight or flight response.
Which means stress hormones flood the system.
Mm.
Cortisol, adrenaline.
Exactly. You go into hyperarousal, your body is physically preparing for danger, heart rate up, muscles tense, mind racing. You're literally getting ready to fight or flee insomnia.
Which is completely counterproductive to sleeping.
Totally. And the struggle itself, trying to push the thoughts away, getting frustrated, sends more signals to the amygdala that there is danger. It becomes this vicious cycle. The effort creates the state that prevents sleep.
Wow. Okay, so we have to break
Right.
that cycle. We need to stop struggling, choose acceptance. But practically, how does someone start doing nothing? You mentioned mindfulness is key here.
Yes, mindfulness is a core tool, but it's crucial to understand its purpose in ACT for insomnia. It's not primarily a relaxation technique designed to make you fall asleep.
Okay, that's important. So what is its purpose?
It's about increasing your willingness to experience discomfort without reacting automatically. It helps you become an observer of your thoughts and feelings.
Like stepping back from them.
Exactly, creating a bit of distance. So instead of being consumed by, I'll never sleep, you learn to notice it as, I'm having the thought that I'll never sleep. See the difference?
Yeah, it makes it less absolute, less like a fact.
Right. It takes away some of its power. You see it as a mental event just passing through.
That seems like a powerful first step in diffusing that panic.
It really is. And building on that observation, ACT introduces another tool called welcoming.
Welcoming. That sounds nice, but maybe a bit strange when you're talking about anxiety or frustration.
It does sound strange at first, but it's about actively, even playfully, acknowledging whatever shows up, offering a kind of friendly greeting.
It's like, oh, hello there, racing art. Or evening, urge to check the clock.
Exactly like that. It sounds maybe a bit silly, but what you're doing is signaling safety to your brain, especially that primitive amygdala.
Because you're not reacting with fear or fighting, you're just acknowledging it.
Precisely. You're choosing curiosity and acceptance over fear and resistance. It lowers the perceived threat level. And this leads nicely into a really practical way to think about your choices at night. The Olympic podium analogy.
Right, the medals for nighttime activity. I like this one.
It helps guide your behavior when you are awake. So gold medal obviously is being asleep, maximum rest.
The ultimate goal.
But silver is lying quietly in bed, eyes closed perhaps, in a state of restful wakefulness. You're not asleep, but you're resting. You're mindfully observing, conserving energy.
Okay, that's achievable even when sleep isn't coming.
Exactly. And then bronze, or maybe no medal at all, is actively struggling. Tossing, turning, worrying, getting out of bed anxiously, checking the clock, all that high stimulation stuff.
So the aim, if you're not getting gold, is to aim for silver. Choose conscious rest over active struggle.
That's the choice every time. Opt for the highest level of rest available to you in that moment, which is usually silver quiet, mindful wakefulness, rather than the energy-draining struggle of bronze.
Okay, now we touched on this earlier. Spending too much time in bed hoping to catch sleep actually backfires. It weakens the sleep drive. So How do we rebuild that drive and establish better patterns?
Yeah, managing sleep drive is crucial. If you spend, say, 10 or 12 hours in bed trying to force 6 hours of fragmented sleep, you dilute that biological pressure to sleep.
It's like you're spreading the sleepiness too thin.
Kind of, yeah. There's not enough buildup. This is often why Sunday night is notoriously bad for poor sleepers.
Because of catching up on sleep over the weekend.
Exactly. That long lie-in on Saturday or Sunday morning significantly weakens your sleep drive for Sunday night. You haven't built up enough sleep pressure.
So the solution involves less time in bed initially.
Counterintuitive, but yes. It's often called sleep restriction or sleep scheduling.
Mhm.
You figure out roughly how much sleep you're actually getting, say 5 or 6 hours, and you restrict your time in bed to only that duration, maybe adding half an hour.
Wow, that sounds tough.
It can be initially, yes, but the goal is to consolidate your sleep, to really build up that sleep pressure so that when you are in bed, sleep comes more easily and is deeper. Once your sleep becomes more solid within that window, you gradually, slowly increase the time allowed in bed.
Right, strengthening the drive first, then extending the time.
Hmm.
Okay, and what about the final piece? Dr. Meadows talks about living. This seems absolutely critical for long-term recovery.
It's arguably the most important phase, because what happens with chronic insomnia? Your world starts to shrink.
What do you mean?
Well, your brain naturally wants to avoid discomfort, avoid things that might threaten sleep. So you start avoiding evening social events because you need your wind down time. Maybe you turn down a promotion because it involves travel. You might sleep in separate beds.
All these avoidance behaviors to try and protect sleep.
Exactly. But all this avoidance comes at a huge cost to your quality of life. And ironically, it often increases stress and worry about sleep, feeding the insomnia.
So living means pushing back against that.
It means choosing to live a full, meaningful life despite the insomnia, not waiting for the insomnia to go away before you start living again. It's the ultimate paradox of recovery.
You have to live the life you want now, even with potentially bad sleep, rather than putting life on hold.
Precisely, because the less you struggle emotionally, the less you avoid things during the day, the less fuel you give the insomnia at night. Living fully creates the conditions, lower stress, lower arousal for natural sleep to eventually return on its own.
So wrapping this up, our deep dive into Dr. Meadows' work really flips the script. The answer isn't more control, more effort. It's less. It's about stopping the fight, embracing acceptance.
It truly is counterintuitive, but incredibly powerful. And maybe a final thought for everyone listening. Recovery doesn't mean you become immune to ever having a bad night's sleep again.
That's a really important point. Normal sleepers have off nights too.
They absolutely do. The difference lies in the reaction. So if you've recovered using these principles and one night you find yourself awake, that old familiar thought might pop up. Oh no, is it coming back?
The fear resurfaces.
It might. But the proof that you've truly recovered, that you're now behaving like a normal sleeper, is how you respond. If you can notice that thought, maybe give it a nod, there's that worry again, and then choose not to struggle, choose just to rest. That's it. That response is the sign you've broken the cycle.
Choosing acceptance and rest, even when challenged. That's the goal. Embrace doing nothing. Here's to a future of restful nights for everyone listening.